Hello, I just got this thing working, so I had to tell you about it because I'm so excited. One of the things that I'm looking at is in JS IPFS is making it small in the browser. And one of the things that we could do to make it smaller in the browser would be to remove some of the more exotic IPLD formats from the bundle. But that would mean that we wouldn't be able to resolve like Git data or Ethereum data or Bitcoin data either, which would kind of suck. So I want to keep them, but at the same time I want the bundle to be small. Now, one of the things that IPLD has already is this option that you can pass a constructor called load format. And what that will do is if IPLD is asked for some data, if you give it like a CID with a codec that it doesn't understand yet, it doesn't have a format for yet, then if you've passed this load format function as an option to IPLD, then it will call it and see if the user will load up that resolver for that particular codec. So that's kind of cool, right? Because actually, what we could do is make the JS IPFS bundle really small by excluding most of these IPLD formats that we don't use every day. But we could have like a function that will load these dynamically. Like, what if it did something like make a HTTP request to a CDN for these particular formats and loaded them on the page as and when they were required? Well, that's exactly what I've kind of done. But I've taken it one step further, because not only is it coming from a CDN, it's coming from IPFS. So what will happen is that when IPLD finds a format that it can't resolve, it will load format and it will ask IPFS for that format. It will get that particular JS file, run it, and then pass back that resolver to IPLD so that it can read the data. How cool is that, right? I created this repo called IPLD formats, and what all this does is basically it's kind of like, well, it creates a folder that has all of the different IPLD formats on it, but the browser builds of them. So it installs them and extracts the browser stuff and puts them in a folder, and that kind of allows me to add them to IPFS using like IPFS add -r with that on that folder. So now they're in IPFS. I could just put a script tag on the page and link to one of these files at IPFS.io, IPFS, the hash, and then all of this path basically. I could link to it directly in a script tag, but even better, what I could do is I could do something like IPFS cat. And that's exactly what I've done. So let's have a look at the code. Okay, this is a bit rough at the moment, but basically I've split out the IPLD formats. We've got like two files now, and we've got this ability in JS IPFS. We've configured the bundler to replace particular modules with browser versions of them if we want them for the browser build. And what I've done is I pulled out the IPLD formats, and I've got a special browser module which will allow me to do some special things when a particular codec is required. So let's just have a look at where. So in JS IPFS, we're creating our IPLD instance here, and we're actually passing in this load format function, which will call load IPLD format, and that uses this module that I was just talking about, which I require up here, and for the browser build, that's replaced with browser, which is kind of cool. So in the browser, I'm going to show you a Git one. So I'll just talk about this Git. The Git version of it. So for a Git piece of data, all I'm doing is I'm doing a cat on self is the IPFS node at the moment, and we cat the IPFS with the CID of where all of those formats have been pinned, and we grab hold of it and we create a new function and we put the data in it, and JavaScript executes it, and what that does is, because it's the browser build, it will add a property to the window called IPLD Git, and we call back with that particular resolver. So then what happens is our bundle for JS IPFS cannot include this particular format, but load it when it's needed from IPFS. How cool is that, right? So demo, of course, here we go. So I've got so if we look at the console here, here we go. This is a CID of a Git thing. How could we prove that? Let's do this on the fly. So we could use the IPFS. Let's have a look at this. There we go. We could use the JS IPFS CID tool. So we could use help. Does it work? Oh, use version 10. Here we go. Here we go. Right. Okay. So format. So CID. Yeah. CID format. And let's have a look. So let's have a look at the format things. So what I want to know is the codec name. So I'll do %C format -f. So I need format -f. And then I need %C and then the hash. Will that work? Is that right? Git raw. Cool. Okay. So what this has done is I've given it this CID and I've picked out the codec that this is encoded with, and it's the codec. CID codec is git raw. So we are definitely going to be looking at some Git data. Fun times. Right. Where did my browser go? It's over here. Great. So now I should be able to just call IPFS dag get with this CID, and in this bundle that I've built, it doesn't have the Git codec by the Git IPLD format included. So what should happen when I hit this is it should try and load it dynamically from IPFS, and then it should give me back the data for this particular CID. So pow! Okay, loading IPLD format git raw. It loaded it from here. Wow. Okay, and then it loaded. Tells me it loaded it, and then it's just printed out what it got, and we've got the value. And this looks like it's actually some data that is a Git commit. Oh wow, so awesome.